So most people at the gym usually stick to the same old routine and never really change it up about what they do. So it's usually a high intensity exercise or a low intensity exercise, but they know unless they're trained in health performance or another field like that, they usually just do a HIIT training or a list training, which we'll get into what that means later. Both low intensity exercise and high intensity exercise has their benefits, and people should be doing both. It's just people don't understand the benefits of both, and they need to know what and how to incorporate these two different modes of exercise. So low intensity exercise has many benefits to people, but what exactly is it? So it can mean anywhere from swimming to yoga to jogging to even biking. But technically speaking, it is only if a person gets their heart rate from about 50 to 70%, depending on what source you use. That's just typically what it is. And also RPE, which is the rate of perceived exertion, and this just determines how hard an individual is working. That can be anywhere from 2 to even 5 on a scale of 1 to 10. And then low intensity exercise is also just more commonly known as LIST that I found out now. Which just stands for low intensity steady state exercise, which I found that's the most information I found on that. So people mostly focus on high intensity training to get results, but most people forget about the benefits of low intensity exercise. The first benefit is very efficient at burning calories and fat. Due to the longer periods of training, those type 1 fibers are activating in your body, and it's starting to use more of a fat than the carbohydrates in your body as the main fuel source. Although it does take more time than high intensity workouts, which is usually high intensity workouts can be anywhere from like 15 to 30 minutes. These can be anywhere up to like 60 minutes to even an hour of just constant cardio or just steady exercise, which can be boring, but the benefit of that is just puts minor stress on the body, and people can recover from it faster. It puts less stress on the cardiorespiratory system and on the body in general. And it also reduces the risk of various diseases and heart disease, such as heart disease, high blood pressure, and even diabetes. So if a person's wondering if low intensity exercise is for them, it's for everyone. It's most highly recommended for people who are just starting out at the gym, or personal trainers who have a client and who are just brand new to the fitness world. It's incorporation of the lower level strain on the body. And for people who aren't used to exercising, they're going to feel less sore the next day and more encouraged to come back and keep going on, and then you can start to introduce that higher intensity exercise to that person. Another population that usually uses it is endurance athletes. These athletes can do marathons, triathlons, even bike races like the Dirty Kansas here in Emporia. And it's kind of just simple. People who train for endurance need to do endurance training, and that's exactly what low intensity steady state exercise is. It's just training your endurance system to go as long as possible. Another population that really improves from this is bodybuilders. Bodybuilders will do closer to competition. They'll do more and more low intensity steady state exercise just to burn off as much of that fat as possible, and while they limit their caloric intake. And yeah.
Okay, thanks, Kyle. So now I'm going to be going over what high intensity workouts are. So high intensity workouts are workouts measured on a scale of perceived exertion. So the same as low intensity workouts. It's just a matter of how much effort you put into the program, how high your heart rate's going to be. So that being said, there's 3 different types of high intensity workouts. The first being high intensity training, the second being high intensity interval training, and the third being um, high intensity interval resistance training. Okay, and so high intensity training is training where training under load, tempo, and rest period manipulation is implemented into the program. High intensity interval training is training that involves 90% of the heart rate, max heart rate. And again, later I'll go over how the numbers are 80 to 90. It just depends on where you get your information from, what source. But again, that strenuous exercise at that 90% heart rate is then followed by a rest period. Okay, and then let's see, high intensity interval resistance training. That's just interval training that implements cardio into the resistance training. So it can be resistance training done with bands, or it can be free weights with dumbbells or barbells, like CrossFit, for example. Some of the different types of exercise that's associated with high intensity workouts would be, CrossFit, even sprinting, Zumba, indoor cycling, or maybe even boxing, anything that gets the heart rate up as an exercise. It's important to keep in mind that high intensity training is usually in a short amount of time. So it's like 20 to 60 minutes per workout. And then, so this is good for someone that doesn't have a lot of time on their hands. They can implement a workout into their daily routine if that's something that's difficult for them to find time for. Let's see. High intensity training is beneficial for all types of people, all ages. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that doesn't have any experience training. This is more for the experienced individual rather than someone that's just starting out exercising. There are benefits for it, like I said, for all ages. Improving blood pressure is one of them. Cardio health, again, is another. And then this also benefits aerobic and anaerobic fitness, because you are changing up the rest times and workout periods throughout the exercises, so you're always keeping your heart rate up, and that's good for endurance. Insulin sensitivity is benefited, cholesterol profiles, and abdominal fat, and also body weight. Okay, so I'm just going to take some time to answer a few of the questions that were posted on Canvas. So the first one being, should intensity be measured by the level of effort expended or the amount of resistance used? So it should be the effort expended, not the resistance used, because high intensity is measured by perceived exertion, not by how much weight that you can lift. Let's see the next question. What is the magical number of repetitions to perform a certain types of development? So I would say there's no magical number. However, because high intensity interval training uses timed intervals, and these types of programs can facilitate speed and agility. What is the difference between 60 and 80 or 95% of a 1 rep max? I would say that a 1 rep max really shouldn't be part of a high intensity training program. These types of programs are more geared towards keeping your heart rate up and getting that workout in a short amount of time. Let's see, the next being, additionally, what number of repetitions better facilitate those types of development, strength, power, and endurance? I would say there's no certain number of reps that should be performed, because, again, in high intensity interval training, they use interval training where there's 15 seconds of work, 45 seconds of rest, or even maybe 30 seconds of work and 30 seconds of rest. Okay, and that pretty much wraps it up for high intensity versus low intensity.